Hello and welcome to Not for Thought, a podcast channel designed for psychonauts and psychonautics. Today, I'm going to be talking about Shambhala 2024, the 25th anniversary. This is probably going to be a pretty long podcast, possibly two. We'll see what I end up doing. But I got some real fucking crazy stories. This was just a wild trip, man. So bear with me here. Yeah, I got some good stuff to talk about. Yeah, let's get into it. First, I'm going to go smoke a little weed. So if you into that, join me. If not, just hang back and relax, and I'll be back in like 2 seconds. So yeah, I saw my last podcast, my preparations for Shambhala this year. Got like 156 views. To me, that's fucking crazy. So I appreciate that. And yeah, I felt like I had to get this podcast out ASAP before I forget to do it forever and get all lazy about it. So anyway, let's get started. So day 0, I'm going to call it Saturday, July 20th. I flew out to Calgary, and it was a pretty uneventful day, although I smuggled in DMT, bro. I smuggled DMT across the border, so if you want to know a little trick, be very, very careful about this, by the way, because before I mention how I smuggled it on the way there, I should mention that my bag got searched, my checked bag got searched on the way back twice because I had a layover. It got searched twice because I had lighters in my bag, and I think I left them like in my shorts and in my pants, and then put it into this pocket where all my dirty clothes were and forgot about it, and then it was in my checked bag, and so it got searched twice. Anyways, good thing I didn't have any drugs in at that time, I don't think. So on the way there, I got these empty pill capsules. You can get them on Amazon. I got these bright orange empty pill capsules, and I filled them up with DMT. And I got, because you can, like, if you get DMT powder, you can just stuff this powder into these pill capsules. Like, you can get a lot in there. It was way more than I thought it was going to be. Anyway, so I got this jar of Advil, basically, that are these, like, bright orange pill capsule looking things that are very similar looking. At just like a quick glance, they look the exact same as these empty pill capsules I got off of Amazon. And I put some other, like I put Tums into there, I put some multivitamins into there, and just like tried to make it look a little bit more natural. And then I put that into my bathroom bag and put my bathroom bag into my checked bag, and it made it through. So I smuggled a bit of DMT through. Anyway, so I met up with Ted. That's not his real name, but that's what I'm going to call him on the podcast. A lot of these people are the same as last year. I just don't have the energy or motivation to go and figure out what names I made for each person. So I'm just remaking them. So keep that in mind. A lot of these people are the same, but I changed the names because I felt like it. Anyway, so I meet up with Ted, who picks me up at the airport. It was cool. It was good to see him again. I met him at Shambhala last year, and hadn't seen him for a whole year, so it was cool seeing him again. And anyways, we just like blasted fucking EDM the whole way back to his place in Revelstoke, which was like, we were going from Kelowna because I had a layover in Calgary, blah blah blah. Anyway, it was like a 2-hour drive or something like that to get back to his place. We were just like blasting music, and he got me a bunch of fucking weed. He got us both a bunch of pre-rolls, a bunch of carts. He got me like a 1.2 gram cart that was fucking awesome, and I went through it so fast. But anyways, we just got fucking baked and hung out, talk about EDM, and just had a blast on the ride back to his place. So we got back home, had some pizza. By home, I mean his place. Ate some pizza and went to bed. That was the end of that night. I'm going to try and like not get too into detail about some of these first days because there's like not anything all that important. It gets really crazy later on, so bear with me. Just hold out. Like I truly had some really, really crazy experiences, both good and bad. So, anyway. So day one, Sunday, July 21st, was probably one of the most uneventful days of the trip. We went to a lake nearby, smoked some weed, just hung out and caught up about a bunch of stuff. We went and picked up his trailer. It was like an hour away from Revelstoke. And, yeah, then we just came back to his place. His girlfriend went to bed. I'm going to call her Stacy. She went to bed, and me and Ted just got fucking shit-faced drunk, dude. We just got so fucking messed up, and just like blasted music in his living room, and it was like so cool to have that moment with him, because I was so like interactive with so many other people throughout the festival. It was nice to have this moment with this guy, because I've become really close with him over the past year. Anyway, it was just cool to catch up with him and like get drunk and talk about music and stuff. It was fucking dope. It was just a good little warm up to the festival. So we go to bed and move on to day 2, we're calling it. Really more like day 3. Monday, July 22nd. My friend Ted and his girlfriend Stacy just kind of packed the whole day, filled up their trailer with shit. We went shopping. It was a pretty laid-back day as well, but later in the afternoon, some more of the crew showed up, which was really cool. A bunch of people from last year that I had met had shown up early to my friend Ted's place, so that was cool to like meet up with them and drink a little bit and hang out and just do a little pre-party before the festival began, you know. It was cool. So I'm going to call him Mort. It's not his actual name. We like right before everybody else went to bed, and before we went to bed, we just like drank a beer and we were talking about DJing and making music, and like it was just a really cool moment for me to be able to talk not only with a good friend that I had met at Shambhala last year, but also just to be able to talk about something I really cared about. Was really, really nice for the day before the festival began, you know. Yeah, so anyways, just saying, like, I love EDM, I love music, and so does Mort, and we just, like, really connected there for a moment. Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, so I'm not even 10 minutes in, and I'm already on to day 3, Tuesday, July 23rd. So this is the day that we left for the farm. Honestly, kind of an uneventful day as well, but so it was a pretty chill ride. There was no line this year, which was so weird. If anybody's been to Shambhala, into festivals, music, whatever, usually there's a very long line to get in to this festival. At least I've heard like an average of 6 to 8 hours, but last year it was like 12 to 14. And this year there was no line at all. So just to like put it into perspective, it was very strange to just be able to go right in. Like I remember hopping out and like ripping my shirt off, and I was ready to like smoke some cigarettes and some joints and chill for a little bit and like drink a beer. And then I like walked up to a couple cars ahead, and all of a sudden they were moving, and I had to like get back into my friend's truck and go in. It was fucking weird. And then going in, there was no, so they were searching cars, but for some reason they didn't search ours. They only searched certain vehicles based on how you responded to the people up at like right at the front. Right when you first pull in, there's like some people that ask you some questions, and if you don't answer them right or you sound suspicious, I think that they search your fucking car or your trailer, but for some reason they didn't for us. So we were able to just go right through security. They didn't look through anything. Like, we could have literally brought whatever we wanted. It was fucking awesome. But we had prepared for them searching our shit. So anyway, better safe than sorry, right? It was just very strange that we were able to go right through, no line, and no security. It was just very, very weird. I mean, I'm grateful for it. But anyways, the rest of the day was pretty laid back. We just set up camp. We were so close to downtown Shambhala this year. It was like half the walk compared to last year, which was phenomenal. It was great not having to walk nearly as far because it was still a walk, but nothing compared to last year or what it could have been. So we went to the river, came back, and I think we just like fucking hung out. And like I don't think that there was much that really went on that night. Everybody was pretty chill because we went through the line so quick. Nobody really wanted to like go all that hard. Everybody was like, "Oh well, it's still the first. It's not even the first day, so we got to take it easy." So it was just not too crazy on the drugs and music and the environment. It was very mellow, you know. So Wednesday, July 24th, things start to get like a little bit crazier. We start to get closer to the festival. We went to the river during the day. I got burnt as fuck. I didn't put on any sunscreen, and my skin was just absolutely fried the rest of the week. But anyway, so I think it was on Wednesday during the day, but it might have been Thursday. I can't quite remember. I'm pretty sure it was Wednesday. I don't know. Anyway, so I tried GHB for the first time ever. If you've never heard of it, which I hadn't until last year at Shambhala, it's this, I don't know. It's apparently like a date rape drug. I don't know so much about that, but it basically just, it's very similar to alcohol in how it feels, but it doesn't give you like as much of the stomach feeling and like the head dizziness. It's just kind of like a floaty buzz. That's the way that I would put it. But apparently if you do too much, not only is it incredibly dangerous for your health, but you can also G out. I put that in quotes because I don't actually know if that's what it's called. And it's where you do too much, and that's where the date rapey part comes in, where you like black out and become very horny for everything. I guess I don't fucking know, man. But anyway, I just tried a little bit, and it was a lot of fucking fun. I loved it. It just made me feel like kind of euphoric for a little bit. It made me feel like a couple beers in without so much of like a headache. But later that night, we decided, the gang, decided to go and find a renegade stage. So I remember we wandered around for a while, and this festival is so fucking dusty, dude. At least this night was, because I think a lot of people were still pulling in, and we were walking through a different camping area. We were in Sunshine. I don't think I said that. We were in Sunshine this year, which is like right out in this open fucking field, and it gets really hot. But there's other areas of the festival, and we were like looking for a renegade stage a little bit closer to downtown Shambhala, a little bit more in like a woods kind of area, but still not quite, still kind of open. I think it's called Starlight, I think. I don't know. There's so many different areas. There was apparently even like camping areas in Fractal. Like people kept saying that there was a Fractal camping area. I don't fucking know, man. I thought I knew everything about this festival, and then I show up and people are bringing up things that I've never heard of. And I've done a lot of research on this festival, so I don't know. It's crazy, man. You think you know everything. So anyways, we found a renegade stage, and they had like a PK speaker, so it was fucking bumping. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And the group just like, it was a cool moment for the group to like get together, vibe at like not even a real stage a night before the festival was even starting. So it was a good little moment. I remember doing quite a bit of K, and it was intense, man. K mixed with EDM. Let me just talk about this for a second. Ketamine is like very strange to mix with EDM because, I mean, probably just all music, but there's something about like the alien nature behind a lot of EDM music, at least that's played at Shambhala, that makes, mixing it with K just so fucking weird. It makes the body high. Like the experience of the music on your body is fucking so weird, bro. It envelops your whole body. It makes you feel like you're vibrating, and there were times where I felt like I was like floating up off the ground and shit because of how intense the bass was. I know I probably sound like such a hippie, but if you go to this festival and you do a bunch of K, you'll fucking know what I mean. Because Thursday, it gets even fucking crazier. Because I did even more K, and I'll get into it. But it was just that the Renegade stage was this tiny little stage at this campsite, and it was fucking rocking. And I was doing not even that much ketamine, and I was really fucked up. It was just wild, bro. Ketamine's just such an interesting drug, especially mixed with EDM. It's just like a match made in heaven. So day 5, I think we were at the river for a little bit. I don't think we were there for very long, but there was an artist. His name is Killsmith, and he started really early in the day. I think at like 1 in the afternoon. It was at 2. He played at the Amp, for anybody curious. That's one of the stages. It was a lot of fun. It was good to like, I remember somebody saying like, I'm glad you pulled the grip out early. And I was too. It was fun. But then fucking Pigeonhole comes on, dude. That was straight wubs. I mean, if you're into like bassy fucking whoop 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 whoop, that was all of Pigeonhole. I'm into that, except for the fact that I was doing a lot of K, and it was pretty packed at the Amp. The Amp is not a very big stage, and there were a lot of people there on Thursday, because Thursday is still technically a day before the festival really starts. Friday's when it actually starts, right? That's when the 6 stages open up. On Thursday, there's only 2. At the Amp, there were a lot of people cramming into some of these sets, and mixing that with K, like, I think I'm a little claustrophobic or something, because when I would mix ketamine in with, like, something like Pigeonhole, which was very bassy, deep wubby, also with a lot of people surrounding me, it made it, like, just too much. It made it very sweaty and chaotic, and, like, almost not in a fun way. And I just didn't really think that was necessarily in my nature, but like I don't know. There were multiple moments throughout the festival where it was just too many people. It really wasn't that bad this year. It was a lot better than this year. But there were moments like on Thursday and on Sunday where there were sets that were just so packed, and it made it kind of scary in a way when I was like on a lot of drugs, especially doing a lot of ketamine. It just made everything very claustrophobic. At the Amp, you're standing on rocks that are at angles, and it can just be very uncomfortable. I'm not complaining. I'm just like forewarning anybody curious about why like ketamine was so fucking wild, because I would be hallucinating and feeling this like crazy wobbly body high, and then I would feel the presence of hundreds of people surrounding me and getting closer and closer, and I'd be sweating my ass off because there'd be a bunch of people headbanging and shit around me, and it just makes a very hot area. Anyway, I'm getting so fucking off topic. A couple of people decided to dip out of Pigeonhole because it was like a little too much. And we went to the living room for Fort Knox 5, which is a little bit more housey, upbeat. There weren't as many people, so it was more spread out, a lot like easier to vibe with. I would have loved Pigeonhole if it wasn't for the fact that there were so many people, and it was just becoming too much. It felt very mellow at the living room at Fort Knox 5. It was still really cool. It just wasn't, it didn't make me feel like I was about to, pass out like some of these other sets did. All right, so the next set, I think we went back to camp for a little bit maybe. I can't quite remember, but then we went out for ski tour at the Amp, iconic for Shambhala on Thursday. And I remember there was another set where I was just doing so much fucking ketamine. And this time, like, it was another very claustrophobic set. But I remember ski tour's music was very, like, euphoric to me. The way it moved, it felt like I was on this roller coaster with this music, the way that it sounded. It was like this house music, but it sounded, I don't know how to explain it, but it just felt like the way that they were moving throughout their songs and mixing through things. It sounded like they were just creating this roller coaster through this music. I felt like I was, in a way, as cheesy as it sounds, I felt like I was on like a snowmobile chugging through snow, and like their music was what was like playing in the background. I know that sounds so stupid, but that I was on so much ketamine. That was like what was playing in my head, was me just like charging through snow on some fast snowmobile with this music. This heavy house was just like playing in the background. I don't know. Anyway, Ahi comes on at the amp, which is a set that a lot of people wanted to hear and see. So it was fucking packed, but it was a lot of fun, honestly. I think I like dialed it back on the ketamine for Ahi. Like, I think I only did a little bit, so it wasn't too wild. It was honestly pretty enjoyable. So I remember after Ahi, everybody kind of wanted to go back to camp, but there were some people that wanted to stay. Ted and Stacy, the two people that I stayed with before the festival, wanted to stay out, so they stayed at the amp, I think. And Saruda came on, and I was just hanging at camp, and I got a message from Ted that was like, "You gotta get your ass down here, boy." So I like ran down to the fucking amp, and I remember feeling so happy that like this festival was starting. It was just awesome, like getting a message like, "Dude, you gotta hear this music." I just remember running down to, like a little kid, man. I felt like a kid running down to the playground or something, trying to get to this fucking set, dude. I was just so excited that this festival was fucking starting, and that I had put so much time and energy into getting to where I was with this festival, being able to do everything that I was doing. Anyway, so yeah, it was a fun set. It was bumping. And then the next set after that, Pav 4N and Strategy, was like a rapper or something. I don't know. It was kind of crazy for a minute, but I think we left that and we went to Tone Ranger for a little bit. After that, we saw Fungineers at the living room, and that shit was so fucking weird, dude. The DJ has a big puppet in his hand, and on drugs, it is just the weirdest shit, because he also has this MC that's this like chick that's dressed in this fairy outfit, and she was singing about like really sexual stuff. I'll just leave it at that. Like, there was one song about like making a vagina wet or something. It was super funny, and it was kind of good too. Like, the girl who was dressed like a fairy was actually rapping kind of hard on some of these beats that this fucking puppet was throwing down. It was fun. And then the music got really, really fucking weird. Like, too weird. Like, it wasn't even funny anymore. It was just like, what the hell is this? And it got really slow too, and it wasn't really like bumping anymore, and yeah, it just wasn't fun anymore. So I think we left like halfway through. Just went back to camp, and I think passed out, and that was pretty much it for Thursday. So Friday comes along. I remember us going to the river for like maybe 5 minutes, and then there were some people in the group that wanted to see Lazy Syrup Orchestra at the Grove, because the stages were starting to open on Friday. Like I said, the rest of the festival starts to open, but certain stages don't open until certain times, and the Grove is like one of the first ones to open. So this was a fucking long day of music and dancing. Keep that in mind. Like, this was, let me see what time. So this started at 1:30. We probably got there at like maybe 2. We were there for a good chunk of time. I'd say probably around 2. And we were listening to music and dancing at stages for pretty much the rest of the day until the next morning, until like 4 in the morning. It was a really, really long day / night / morning. So anyway, start off with Lazy Syrup Orchestra. It was like jam bandy kind of funk. I don't know, it was fun. And I remember us doing like a bunch of Coke, a bunch of K. Oh, while I'm thinking about it, so at this festival, I've never seen this before, but they had this like nasal spray cocaine. Something about the wash or something or other. I don't fucking know. To me, it was just like cocaine mixed with water, but it was flavored too. It had, and by flavor, I mean like smell, I guess. I don't know. But there was like a birthday cake one. I got a grape one that I ended up losing. There was like a mango one. There were a bunch of different flavors, but it was this spray. You literally like just stick this little nozzle up your nose and pull it down, and it shoots cocaine up your nose. It's really easy on your nose. There were times where I couldn't really feel it all that much until I fucking did, and I noticed that I was like on a lot of it, but I don't know, I just like powdered cocaine a lot more, I think. I feel it a lot more. It's a lot more noticeable when it comes to the high and how it feels with like the numbness in my face and shit. Anyway, so back to the stage. So we're at the Grove listening to Lazy Syrup Orchestra. It was a lot of fun. I remember a lot of people dancing like crazy, and it was a little bit more spread out, so it was pretty enjoyable. I wasn't too fucked up, so it was also easier in that sense. At the end of it, so the Grove is like one of these more laid back stages. I think that's why it opens earlier. But in the back, there's like this big area where there's a bunch of trees and open space, and people will set up hammocks and just chill and hang out. So anyways, at the end of Lazy Syrup Orchestra, we went and sat by this little pond. And I was like, well, I've never looked around the Grove because I didn't really get the chance last year. I'm thinking this. So I like stood up and started to walk around just a little bit, just to take a quick look around. And I saw this person laying on the ground, probably having a seizure or overdosing. And there were like a bunch of people hovering over them. And there was this girl yelling medic that was like kind of nearby me, a little bit further away from the people. And she was like running towards the person on the ground and was like, medic, medic, medic. And I was like not in the right state of mind. So it like took me a second to realize what was happening. And then I like put it together that somebody was like overdosing right there. And it was just like, I don't know, it freaked me the fuck out, dude. It like kind of brought me down for a second from how I was feeling. I wasn't even on that much shit. I wasn't even on that many drugs. But seeing this just kind of took me away from the moment. And as fun as these festivals are, there is a very dark side to some of like how people treat their bodies and what they do. Like I know that some people intentionally overdose, some people will just do too many drugs and like don't know what they're getting themselves into. Some people will get drugged without knowing it. Like there's so many different things that could happen to leading somebody down this path. But anyways, it made it very real for me, you know. Instead of being in like fairyland, it was like fairyland but people are dying. As dark as that sounds, I don't mean to like bring it down for a second, but yeah, it just took me away from the moment, you know. Just all I wanted to do was just like stand up and look around this stage, and I saw somebody overdosing. So just something to keep in mind, man. Be careful about what you're doing, stay hydrated, and look out for each other, because this festival and a lot of other ones are no joke. The nice thing about this festival is the size of it. I've heard that, you know, other festivals are so big and the stages get so cramped that I don't see how like security would be as quick as they are at Shambhala. You know, the fact that there's 20,000 people at this festival and it's got 6 stages, it makes it to where security and medics can get to a very large portion of the festival in a short period of time. But a bigger festival with way more people sounds very dangerous to me, for myself included, you know. Having moments like on Thursday where I was all panicked about being claustrophobic at this stage and being on a lot of drugs, it was scaring me for these bigger fucking stages to come, you know? Like, the Village stage is this massive, heavy dubstep stage that can really fuck you up if you're not prepared for it, dude, or if you're on too many drugs. Anyways, just a side note, just be careful out there, man, and be prepared to, like, see some shit at this festival, because this is one of a couple times where I saw some shit. But thankfully I didn't see, like, anything that dark. Like, I didn't see anything too bad. I just saw the person laying down and have people, like, over them. So let's get back to something a little bit more positive. So I think we went back to the river or something. I don't remember what the fuck we did. But then we went to Freddie J. I know that, at the Fractal. So this is one of the bigger stages, and they had made renovations this year, so it was a pretty big deal. To Freddie J, that was a fucking blast. And then I think we went back to camp just for a little bit. I think this is one of the only times we were back at camp the whole day. I think we ate some food, chilled for a little bit, and then me and Ted wanted to see Secret Recipe at the amp. So we went to the amp. I remember we, like, did a bump before getting there. We did another bump when we got there of ketamine. And then, so my friend Ted is talking to one of his friends, and his friend had another friend that was, like, dancing near us with a totem. Anyways, long story short, they're, like, talking, and Ted's friend's friend gave all of us a bump of, he called it Ketacoke. So my friend Ted and his friend take a bump of whatever this shit is, and then my friend Ted is like, can my buddy take a bump? And he's like, oh yeah, sure. So the guy walks over to me, and I'm like, what is it? I'm like, I don't really care, I just want to know what it is. Like, I'm gonna do it either way. You know? So anyways, I'm like, what is it? And he's like, Ketacoke. And I was like, I did not hear that right. And I was like, what was that? And he was like, Ketacoke. And I was like, you know what, I don't even care, I'll just do it. So he gave me a fucking huge bump. And I'm guessing Ketacoke is ketamine and cocaine mixed together. That's what would make the most sense. But anyways, it was fucking insane. Like, I was hallucinating, and the body high was making me feel like I was, like, wobbling all over the place, and it was just crazy. It wasn't claustrophobic at the set because it was earlier and there were more stages open and shit, more going on, and not quite as, like, known of a set, so it was pretty open. But it was very, like, alien bumping music, and mixed with just a shitload of ketamine was so fucking whack. It was a lot of fun, but it was super crazy. It was making me scared for the living, or not the living room, for the village and the pagoda, because those stages are so immersive and crazy. And if you're really fucked up, they can mess you up, man. They can make you pass out or have a seizure or overdose. Like, these stages are no fucking joke. They're crazy. And because Secret Recipe was just, like, blowing my fucking mind, I was so fucked up on K, and the music was just hitting so hard, mixed with the ketamine. It was just worrying me for the other stages. I thought it was going to be too much, but it was here and there, but it wasn't too bad. So one side note to bring up is that I love how Shambhala, and there's probably a lot of festivals that are like this, but Shambhala specifically really brings this, like, primal nature to everything, aside from, you know, the stages being so technologically advanced with the visuals and the sound. It, like, the festival itself really takes you away from the modern civilization. You know, a lot of people are staying in tents, a lot of people are in RVs, so there's also that, and there's technology mixed in with everything, because that's just how our society works. But that being said, these, like, camping festivals that are out in the middle of fucking nowhere, where people aren't really, like, on their phones very much, and it's a lot more socializing, and it's just everybody listening to music and having fun. It feels like, to me, it feels like I'm living in, like, ancient society and how humans are supposed to live. Like, it really feels like some version ancient heaven, you know, where it's there's just this very primal nature where there's, like, people walking around naked everywhere. There's no buildings, and there's just music and drugs and happiness. It feels like how people are supposed to be living. I just felt like I should bring that up because I had these very strong moments of philosophical thought where I just felt like I was relating to this primal, and like a lot of people use the word feral in the EDM community, and I really felt that at this festival. I felt this very feral, animalistic nature in humans. Like it felt like I was living in a time thousands of years ago in a way. If you take, a couple of phones out of it and you dumb down the music and you take away the visuals, it feels like you're living in caveman times. But everybody's so happy and just enjoying music and drugs, and fuck, it's just such a cool festival, dude. Anyways, just a little side note to point out. It was a cool moment to have this philosophical thought of humans while I was at this festival. Anyways, so Stylist comes on, who's fucking crazy, super like alien dubsteppy, and everybody smokes weed at the village. So last year I had heard about how there's these Santas that roll up a bunch of joints and pass them out around the village when Stylist starts, but I didn't really see that last year. This year I did. There was a girl, there were two of them. There was one in the front holding a phone that said, "Smoke out the village for Stylist," and then the girl behind her was dressed as like a female slutty Santa, and she had a bag of joints and she was handing them out to people. It was fucking awesome. So we all just like lit up a bunch of joints and smoked out. It was cool as fuck. And then the set itself was really, really fucking cool. It was just a lot of fun with the crew and going hard on drugs for a minute and stuff, So I think after that we went to Lun, I don't know how you say that. It was in the Fractal. We weren't there for very long. Then we went to the Pagoda and we saw Kyle Watson. This is the first time we were at the Pagoda, which is a very housey visual stage they like added more lasers to it this year. So it's like it's just a ceiling of lasers when you're in the audience at certain times when the lasers are really going. It's absolutely mind-boggling. It's fucking so cool. And then the pagoda itself is this like Japanese pagoda that has all these really, really trippy, complex visuals playing on it. So we went to the pagoda for Kyle Watson. We didn't really mean to. We just kind of ended up there, and we hung out there for a little while and just like got lit. I remember us like smoking some cigarettes and just hanging out and doing some K. But the house and the visuals were just so much fucking fun. So then we went to Taiki New Light, and this is where shit got like just so fucking hippie. Fuck, stay with me here. So I think that's how you say it. Taiki New Light, holy shit, TAIKINULIGHT. And it was a fun set because we met up with like the other half of our crew. This year, without getting too much into detail, our crew was huge last year. It was probably like around 15 to 20 people last year. This year it was around 30. And so our camp was very divided amongst these like individualistic groups, which was kind of sad actually. But at Taiki New Light, we got to meet up with a bunch of the rest of our crew, like pretty much all of them. So at the amp, it's an amphitheater, right? So there's like a pit area, I would call it, that's like right at all of the big bass speakers. And then there's like levels that kind of go up as the stage gets further out. That's what like creates this amphitheater, right? So anyways, half of our crew is up on one of the steps, and then the rest of them are like down in this pit area. And I was kind of stuck in the back, not really like vibing too much with where I was at. So I was like, fuck it, I'm going to get down in this pit. And so I got down closer with this group, and this was such a cool moment. They had like this, so it was pretty spread out for this set. It wasn't too cramped. And this like portion of our crew was making this rave circle. Like at first everybody was just kind of dancing all crazy, and then slowly some of the people started to turn inward and created this like rave circle, dude. Like that's what I would call it. I don't know. There's probably like some sort of actual EDM rave term out there, but anyways, it was just that the guys' girlfriends like turned inward. Everybody just like created this circle, and we're dancing inward into this like rave circle, and oh god, it was just so fucking cool. It was so much fucking fun. How like I remember at one point make eye contact with somebody and start dancing and vibing with them, and then another person would join in, and we just like start all getting closer into the circle, and then we back up and start dancing, by ourselves again. And like, oh God, it was just so fucking cool. It was like this weird communication through dance. That's what I was thinking about while it was happening, was that without saying any words at all, I was still having these like amazing connections with these people that I had barely even spent any time with. And it was just, God, it was amazing. It was so fucking cool that I would just start vibing with somebody without saying any words to them at all. We would just start dancing with each other for a second, and it was just constant moments like that during this set and the next one after that, which was Sammy Virgie, which was, again, a lot of fucking fun. And it was so cool. Like, everybody kept like feeding me drugs and alcohol and just dancing with me, and I just felt the love, dude. I felt like I belonged, and I felt like I could just do and dance however I wanted. And there would be times where I would be dancing so stupidly, and people wouldn't second look at me at all. People would look at me like I was totally normal, and I would be dancing like an absolute idiot. That was just a really cool moment, especially that like rave circle where everybody like turned inward and started dancing into this rave circle, and like people were like throwing stuff into the middle, and like, God, it was so fucking cool. You just meet the most fun people, and like everything goes as long as it's fun. As long as it's fun, anything goes, man. So then I kind of like split off from those people, which was really sad. I wanted to connect more with them. I wish I spent more time with them, but like I said, our camps were split up, and it just made it hard to like really get to know these people more that I was dancing with in the pit, because this was apart from Ted and Stacy and these other people that I am really close with. These were people that I like met last year, but didn't really get the chance to get close with, and same with this year, where it was just like I didn't spend enough time with them. But anyway, so we go to Excision, which is really heavy dubstep. If you don't know who Excision is, fucking crazy. It was really, really wild at the Village, and it's just kind of funny to think that I was so terrified of the Village. Like, I had a blast there. It was awesome. Like, it wasn't there was a moment on Sunday, which I'll get into, that got like a little bit too much, but it was just funny that like I was honestly kind of scared about going to the Village and the Pagoda, and then once I got there, it was like heaven on earth. It was they're the fucking coolest stages. They are very, very intense. They're no joke. Like, I don't know, it sounds stupid to like compare music to a physical experience, but it is, because of how loud and intense these speakers are, and the fact that you're just being immersed with all these visuals and lasers and colors and all these people giving you drugs, and like, fuck, it's insane. It's very crazy. But I will say that if you're entirely sober, I feel like you really shouldn't end up overdosing or like having a seizure or anything. Like, when I was close to being sober, or just like not that fucked up, it really wasn't, it was a ton of fun and it was crazy, but it wasn't like I felt like I was going to die. There was only moments like last year, and like maybe kind of one moment this year, where I thought that I was going to like pass out or have a seizure or something. And it was mainly because I was doing a lot of drugs at one of these really, really crazy stages. So anyways, it's just, you have to be smart with it and know your limits and be experienced with things. Like, being a veteran in the EDM community is honestly not easy to come across. It takes a lot of festivals, a lot of concerts. Like, it takes a lot of getting used to things. And if you don't know what you're getting yourself into, or if you overestimate yourself, you can regret it, like I have. So anyways, we went to Gentleman's Club for a minute, and we were there for like 5 minutes, and then we left and went to Dion Timmer back at the Village, which was fucking crazy. We went up on this balcony area. You can go up on these steps and like see more of the audience, and it's a little bit more spread out. But God, it was a blast. It was so much fucking fun. And I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't too far gone on the drugs where I thought it was too much, or it felt like I was going to pass out or something, or I was going to have a heart attack. It didn't feel like that because I was taking it kind of easy, and it was later in the night, and It wasn't like quite as bad as I was thinking that it was going to be when, I was really fucked up at the amp earlier in the day and on Thursday. So at one point, I remember we were standing at the porta potties, and this girl like came up behind me, and she just like asked me where I was going or something, and I was like, I was fucked up. I had no idea. And that's what I told her. I was like, I don't know, I'm fucked up. I have no idea where we're going. I'm just following the leader. And she just like vibed with me and talked with me for a little bit. Anyways, I went into the bathroom and I came out, and she was like, I thought she was going to be gone, but anyways, she was like standing out there waiting for me and was like, here, let me give you something. And she gave me a bracelet, like a candy, Kandi bracelet. It was like the first time I've ever had something like that happen. It was really cool. It was a nice little cheesy Shambhala EDM moment, Yeah, it was really cool. But anyways, so we ended up going to the pagoda and seeing Destructo back-to-back Dr. Fresh, fucking dope. It was really, really cool. We weren't there for very long. I think I ended up getting like separated from the group or something. I don't know. But I ended up going back to camp around, I think it was like 4. And there was nobody there, so I pretty much just went to bed. Yeah, I think that's pretty much going to finish it up for now. I think I'm at probably almost an hour, maybe like 40 minutes. So this might be the first part. I only have 2 more days to go, and maybe some like other little side notes. But yeah, anyways, stay tuned for the next few days. I'll be back in a minute. All right, let's get into day 7, Saturday, July 26th. So I forgot to mention a little bit ago that there were actually about 3 moments where I saw, well, before Friday, I think. Well, no, I guess that there was one on Friday too. So there was that moment that I already talked about. When I was at the Grove walking around the back, I saw somebody on the ground, and like medics rushed up to them. There were 2 other moments, maybe I think 3 or even 4, but there were 3 in total, 2 other ones that were fucking crazy. So I think it was on Thursday. We were walking around, I think it was on Thursday, and one of my friends wanted some food, so I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna go smoke a cigarette. So I like moved off to the side of all the vendors, and I lit up a cigarette, and this crew member like walked up next to me. It was funny. There was like this weed stand, because during the day I guess that they like deliver weed to your tent and shit. I don't know. But anyway, this dude like walked up to it. He was doing traffic control, but he was standing like kind of at this booth, and so people kept walking up to him thinking he was selling weed. It was fucking hilarious. Like 3 or 4 people I was talking to this guy kept walking up to him, and they were like, hey man, can I get some weed? It was really fucking funny. And he kept being like, I'm not selling weed, I'm just a traffic control, I'm using this booth for the night. Anyway, while I was talking to him, he was telling me about how 20 minutes before that there was somebody having a seizure walking around and like with their group, and somebody just like fell down and started having a seizure, and he said he had to like help the medic vehicle get to this person. He was just like telling me this whole story about how somebody was straight up almost dying like right before I was talking to him. It was pretty wild. But then there was another moment. This one was quick, so bear with me. I don't even fucking remember what it was. I think it was on Friday. So we were walking to the stages, or we were walking around the stages. I can't fucking remember. I know it was later in the festival. There was a person in a fucking body bag on one of the stretchers. It looked like it. It looked like a black body bag on a stretcher, and it looked full. So I think I saw a fucking dead body. Like, people are crazy at this fucking festival, and the music, and the visuals, and the atmosphere just makes everything so fucking crazy, and it just made me very scared for myself. Like I didn't want to end up being one of those people, and it made it very real that like it's not just something that people talk about or it happens every once in a while. Like it happens a lot, and people die at these festivals, but that's because of certain things. And like I think it's very dependent on the person. Like I kind of keep bringing that up, and I'm sorry. I'm not trying to bring it down. I'm just trying to reiterate the fact that this festival is fucking crazy, especially when you're doing drugs. So anyways, let's move on to the first set of the day on Saturday. It was Tipper. If you're not in DDM, just know that it was fucking trippy. He was doing this like scratching thing with records and stuff, and it just made the music really, really whack. I wasn't all that fucked up, and most of our group was like taking it easy because it was still pretty early in the day. It was super fucking packed, but okay, this is kind of cool. I forgot about this actually. So me and Ted, the whole group is like walking down to see Tipper at the living room, but we passed by the amp, and somebody is just like throwing down in there like heavy as fuck alien dubstep. And so me and Ted are like, fuck it, let's go check this out. So we spent like, I don't know, 15-20 minutes checking out the set, and it was really good. It was Zen Selecta. She was just like throwing down, and it was so much fun, and it wasn't very packed at all. So anyways, we dipped out of there and went to Tipper, and as we were trying to meet up with the rest of our group, this girl just like ran up to me out of nowhere, and she had a thing of Oreos, and she was like, you want a cookie? And I was like, hell yeah. And I took the fucking cookie, and I don't think I ended up even eating it because I was not very hungry, but I was just like, I gotta take anything that's offered to me, come on, at least at this festival. So I think we went back to the river after that. I can't honestly remember, but I do remember Ted's girlfriend, Stacy, got some sort of bad news. I don't know what, and even if I did, I wouldn't share it. But she left the group while we were all at the river, kind of randomly, and it wasn't a big deal or anything. Like, I think something like this happened last year. Somebody in our group got some bad news, and it just took away from their experience. But she, like, recovered so well. I don't know what kind of news she got, but she did such a good job of, like, still enjoying the festival and having a good time and being such a cool person. Like, good for her. Honestly, I strive to be able to have the, like, willpower that she did, even though I don't even know what happened. But anyways, so I just thought that I would bring that up. So I go to Truth with Ted and Stacy, and it was a fucking blast. Oh, before I get into Truth, so earlier in the day, we're chilling at camp, and one of the people in our group brought an insane amount of whippets. I'm talking like probably 500. It was just a big box because you can order whippets, nitrous, I don't know. There's a bunch of different names for it. Balloons. You can buy them I think you can buy them on Amazon, but I think in a lot of places on Google, you can get huge boxes of them. I'm talking like hundreds of them, of these canisters, and then all you need is a cracker, is what I heard it called. It's basically just like a whipped cream container, and then you take these cartridges and you screw it onto it, and then you blow up balloons, or take a hit straight off of the thing if you're a crazy motherfucker. So I tried it for the first time, and I thought it was pretty fun. It was just like a quick little high that made everything a little like buzzy for a second. That was it. Like, it wasn't anything to write home about, but it was kind of fun. Back to Truth. It was honestly probably one of my favorite sets because it was so open and spread out, and the coolest fucking people were there, and the music was so good. Earlier in the festival, like I think maybe on Thursday or Wednesday even, we were at the river, and there was this dude wearing the same hat as me that was Truth's label, an artist, and I like ran over and talked to him and like told him that he had a cool hat, and we just had this little conversation. And when I walked away, he was like, "See you at Truth," and I was like, "Hell yeah, man!" And then in my head, I was like, there's probably no way that I'll run into him, you know? So at Truth, I look over and I see the same fucking dude. And I'm like, no way, I gotta go say something. So I like kind of ditch Ted and Stacy for a second, and I run over this guy and I say what up. And we like dance for a second, and it was just a cool little moment. So then I think we moved on to the Village and saw Headaches. I'm honestly not too sure because I was kind of fucked up. And anyway, we were mainly waiting for Ganja White Night to come on. Somebody that I really wanted to fucking see, especially at the Village. Like, I knew it was going to be really fucking wild. And pretty much like 1 to 2 songs in to Ganja White Night's set, it got so rowdy and crazy. It was so fucking wild. I just remember people headbanging and losing it, and the visuals were just like fucking bonkers. After the music got crazy, but not too late into the night, I took about a gram, I think, or so of mushrooms. That's what I would guess. I was really scared about taking too many mushrooms this time because last year, listen to my podcast, but also I'll just give a little rundown. I took, I think, around 2.5 to 3 grams of mushrooms on Friday night, and it was way too fucking much. It was fun, like, for the first hour of the come up, and then when it really peaked, I thought I was fucking dying. I honestly thought I was dying. I thought for a solid hour to 2 to 3 that I was just gonna like black out and pass out or have a seizure. Like, my heart was just absolutely racing. I was seeing visuals that I had never seen. I felt like I was gonna have a heart attack and die for hours on end. This year and last year, I had tons of moments where I felt like I was I felt like I was overdosing in the moment, but in reality, it was just that things were getting way too crazy. But it was really scary last year when I had done a bunch of mushrooms because it really, really fucked me up, and I was just hallucinating like crazy, and my body was just on a whole nother level. So I was pretty spooked about taking mushrooms this year. I was like kind of trying to be careful about it and feel it out a little bit more rather than just taking a bunch of mushrooms all at once. I was like, I'm going to take a gram or so at a time and see where that goes. And it was fun. It wasn't like super crazy. I kind of wish I would have taken a little bit more, but because I was doing so much ketamine and cocaine, it really wasn't that big of a deal. Like, I didn't need more mushrooms, honestly. And I was just like terrified to have a repeat of what happened the year before where I just thought I was going to die. So anyways, we go to like a couple of different sets, Disco Lions, G. Jones, and then we go to Party Favor at the Village. And it was so spread out. There was like nobody there. And our entire group met up in this one spot and just went fucking nuts to the music, just like headbanging and losing it. It was the same thing that had happened one of the nights before where like people were forming these rave circles and just dancing like crazy. And it was so much fucking fun. It was probably one of my favorite sets because it was like really wild with the music and the visuals, and like everybody was just having a fucking blast. And it was our entire group that met up all together, and it was just like a really fun moment. But at one point during the set, there's this like, I think he was either Australian or British. I always get my accents mixed up. He was some dude with a fucking accent. And he was just like dancing next to me, and we started like chatting for a second. And I tried to hand him one of these little mushrooms. I had bought these like trinkets. They're just like they're like no bigger than a quarter. And they're just tiny, tiny little mushrooms, and they glow in the dark. Throughout the festival, I was handing some of them out. And when I was talking to this guy, I was like, oh, I'll give him one of these little mushrooms. And I handed it to him, and he threw it into his mouth. And I freaked out, and I was like, no, don't eat it. And he like spits it out and he looks at me all wide-eyed. I was like, look at it. It's a little mushroom. And he like kind of looked at it for a second. I think he realized what it was. And he like tried to hand it back to me. And I was like, no, it's yours. Keep it. Anyways, it was just like a really funny moment where I was like, I'm going to kill a guy. He's going to kill himself. I thought he was going to like choke on it or something. I was so scared when I saw him threw it into his mouth. I was like, no, I killed somebody in Shambhala. But thankfully, he spit it out and didn't swallow it. Anyways, we were just like dancing and shit for a second. And he was like, here, I got something for you. And he like scoops up this gigantic like mountain of cocaine on a little mini spoon. And he like snorts it up. And I was like, well, actually, no, I think he had offered it to me first. And I was like, bro, you're joking, right? And he's like, no, watch. He fucking does this huge fucking bump. I didn't realize what it was at the time. I thought that it was ketamine, honestly. That's why I was like so blown away. But even cocaine, like that was a fucking huge bump. Anyways, he scoops up another one and he's like, puts it up to my nose. And I'm like, okay, fine, fuck it. So I take the bump and immediately I'm like, oh shit, that's cocaine. So like I said earlier, I was doing a lot of that spray cocaine. So I like pulled out my spray cocaine. I like handed it to him and I was like, it's grape cocaine, try it. And so he like does a bump and hands it to one of his friends. I think I told him to do two. The size bump he took, he should have taken like 3 or 4 of those bumps out of the spray bottle. But anyway, he like hands it to a couple of his friends and then hands it back to me. And I was like, fuck yeah, cool. We just like danced for a second. Then he like said he needed to go to a different stage or something and dipped out. But it was a cool little moment where I just like did drugs with a total stranger. So after Party Favor came on, I kind of got split up from the group. It was like a confusing little moment where I thought everybody was leaving, but actually everybody was just going to different stages. So I went back to camp. Nobody was there. I just decided to fucking go to bed. Alright, so let's get into the last day, which was probably one of the craziest days. So bear with me here. So we're chilling on the river, and I was just kind of bored. So I decided to smoke a little DMT. Like I said, I had smuggled a bunch, like a couple grams worth of DMT through my flight. So I'd smuggled it in, but I hadn't smoked any at all because like ketamine and other drugs were just so fucking wild. And just the festival itself is such a crazy experience. So I smoked a little DMT. I like loaded up a pipe, dumped a little DMT into it, smoked it, and I wasn't really feeling it. So I was like, fuck it. And I dumped in a bunch. I just like scooped in a shit ton. And I was like, fuck it, I'm going to smoke as much as I can. And I took a hit out of it. And I was like, oh, yep, now I fucking feel it. And this dude laying down in front of me was like, who's smoking DMT? And I was like, I like raised my hand. I was like, I am. And he was like, oh, that smells like shit. And I was like, fuck, I know, I'm sorry. And he was like, no, I love that smell. And we just started talking about DMT for a little bit. And he was like, here, I got something for you. And he pulls out a DMT cart. And he's like, here, you can try this. It's the toad venom kind because there's different kinds of DMT. I was like, I've never tried that. So I was like, sweet. Long story short, I didn't really end up using it. So, yeah. But it was a really cool moment where I was just like giving some DMT randomly. There was only like a couple hits left in it. But it was a cartridge of toad venom DMT, and he just like gave it to me. It was really cool. People at Shambhala are fucking awesome, man. So the night began with Lyny, Lyny, and I remember his set was just like exactly the songs that I wanted to hear. Like he was playing a lot of his stuff, but he was also playing just songs that I was like dying to hear that weren't by him. Just big songs in the EDM community that he was playing, and it was just like, it was a really fun set. It was at the Pagoda, which is a really trippy stage, like I said. But then we met up with the rest of the group for Tape B at the Amp, and a lot of people really loved this set, but for me, I was like kind of at the back of the group, and I was just getting slammed up against these rocks. It was like a really not great time for me because I was just crowded, and it was again one of those moments where it was just super claustrophobic for me, like on Thursday, and it just almost wasn't enjoyable. And I remember right when I got some room to dance, like it cleared out a little bit, and I got some like room to actually wave my arms around and dance a little bit, and not even 10 seconds go by and some of Ted's friends are like walking through the crowd and they see us and they like fill in this spot. And it was a guy and a girl. They were great people, but the guy is like 6 foot something, and he just completely blocked my view, and he like took up the space that I had just gotten. And so it just like immediately got under my skin, and I just like wasn't even dancing anymore. It was probably the first time that I've been at a rave and I've just completely stopped it. Well, no, I did that last year at Grizz because it was so cramped at the Fractal. Side note, I wasn't vibing with it because I was so cramped, and I just got in the space. It felt like the universe was like, you don't get to dance at this set. So I just like, I don't know, I got kind of mad and grumpy, but Stacy, Ted's girlfriend, like kind of looked back at me, and I saw her like look at me and then like look back again at me, and then she told the guy in front of me like, can you step a little bit to the side? I think she knew that I was kind of upset and not really having a good time, so she like moved the guy to the side a little bit, and it made it a little bit better. And then a little bit later, the dude was like blowing up some balloons, and Stacy was like, you want a balloon? And I was like, yeah, of course. So I like actually got along with the guy really well, and he gave me a balloon. He gave me a fucking huge balloon. The balloon that I took on Saturday was like a small one because they weren't doing it right, but this one that this guy gave me was like a full-blown balloon, and I was like, I'm still not, I don't know, I don't really know what I'm doing with that shit. Like, you're supposed to kind of breathe it in slowly. I don't know. I don't fucking get it. You're supposed to breathe. Like, if you have a balloon, you're supposed to inhale and exhale, but not like the entire balloon all at once. I didn't really know what I was doing with it. I definitely felt it, but I just don't feel like I was doing it right. But at Tape B's set, when I did huff that balloon, it just made everything so crazy. It made all the colors super vibrant and the visuals like extra trippy. It just like enhanced everything that I was looking at. So I don't know if we went right there after Tape B, but I think we went to Wax Motif. I feel like I only remember seeing about half of his set, but looking back at the schedule, it looks like the group went to almost all of it, if not all of it, because I don't remember going anywhere else. So Wax Motif was a lot of fun, but then one of Mort's friends had backstage passes, so we were able to go on this pyramid in the Fractal Forest, look at pictures or something, this year's version. There's this big pyramid in the back, and you have to have special access to it, and one of Mort's friends just so happened to have backstage passes, so he allowed a bunch of people in our group to go up there, and I was one of them, and it was really cool. But somebody in our group asked me for a bump of that spray cocaine. I went into my bag, and it wasn't there. I lost it. I lost like $100 worth of spray bottle grape cocaine, really more than that, because like I've never seen that shit. It's so valuable, and I was so sad. It totally bummed me out. It like ruined a good hour or two of my night there. But I remember Mort's girlfriend, Bev. I don't know if I ever put a name on her, if I've talked about her yet. But anyways, she was the one who asked me for the bump, and she was so nice. When I like told her that I had lost it and stuff, she knew that I was upset, and she was so good about like lifting my spirits up and not letting my night be ruined by that. If it wasn't for her like being so nice about it and encouraging me to like get over it, I think I would have like had a pretty rough night. But I ended up dropping some Molly at some point, just one pill at first. I don't remember when. I would say probably maybe at Wax Motif. I don't fucking know. But while we were up in the pyramid, Dylan Francis was on. I'm sure a bunch of people know who he is. So we dipped out from the Fractal and went to the Pagoda to see Ellis Dream and Closey. And they just so happened to be doing a combined set, LSC. It was super crazy for everybody in the crowd. But I remember I was going so hard after the LSC set ended and it was just Ellis Dream on, just the one guy. I was going like so hard to the fucking music, and this dude next to me was dancing, and he just like out of nowhere was like, "What's up, dude?" And we started like dancing together and just like vibing for a second, and he was like, "You're such a cool dude." I think his name was Nathan. That was his actual name, because like I don't think it's a big deal bringing up his name. But he was such a cool fucking dude, and we just like danced for a little bit and just vibed to Ellis Stream, and it was so much fucking fun. I just love that I don't have to like, I don't know, I can really struggle to be outgoing at times, and so like in the rave community, just being able to like communicate through dancing like really crazy to music is something that I just fucking love. At one point I took a second pill of Molly. So I had taken 2 pills of Molly. The first one I didn't really feel. So the second one I was like, fuck it. I remember it was a little bit after I'd lost my cocaine. And so some people in my group were like, "You want some Molly to feel better?" And so I was like, fuck yeah. And this was insane. I did Molly last year at Shambhala. That's the only other time I've done Molly. And it was a very like floaty, euphoric high that I just felt like I was floating on clouds, and dancing was so easy. Other nights it felt like dancing got really exhausting. It was hard on my body, and like my bones were aching and my feet hurt. But when I was on Molly, I just didn't feel any of that pain. But this year I felt like I was fucking rolling. It was just different hallucinations. The body high was really intense. It felt like I was being ripped through this really crazy trip. So I started to really feel it at Subtronics, which was my number one on my list of the entire fucking festival. He was number one out of 4 days of music. I wanted to see him, and it blew my fucking mind. I was rolling so hard that I was just like profusely fucking sweating. I was wearing a bucket hat and I had to take it off because I just could not handle the heat. It was so crowded at this set, and it was so headbangy because it's dubstep. It was just like everybody fucking losing it, and the music was just absolutely crazy on top of it. And then I'm like rolling hard for the first time ever really on Molly, and it just made for this really intense experience to where I was almost kind of freaking out. It was the only time the entire week, well, I had a couple other moments where I was freaking out because I was really feeling the ketamine, but this was different. Like at one point I was looking over at some people in our group, and I was seeing lasers that weren't even fucking there. This stage that we were at is the Village, and there's lights. Like there's a bunch of lights, and there's a bunch of visuals, and there's these huge towers that have a bunch of lights and visuals on them. But there aren't really a whole lot of lasers on this stage. And I was seeing lasers that weren't fucking there, and they were like stacking up and covering up a lot of my vision. And that was the first moment where I was like, whoa, what the fuck is going on? And then after a little bit, I was seeing flashes of light. Like I would get hit with one of the lights on the stage. You know, like if you've ever been to a fucking concert, there's like bright lights on the stage, and when they're all white and they hit you right in the face, it's super blinding. I would get hit in the face with one of these lights, and all I would see was that color for like a good 5 seconds or more. Like that's all I would see, and it made me think that I was gonna like pass out and have a fucking seizure. I thought that I was blacking out, but then I would like a couple seconds would go by and I would start to like regain everything that I could see, and then I would get hit with another light, and I would like just see that light, nothing but that light for a couple of seconds, and it was freaking me out because I've never rolled on Molly like that. I'm used to psychedelic visuals that are colorful and have shapes and like mix with your surroundings and stuff. But this was just like flashes of light and lasers that weren't there, and it was just a completely different hallucinogenic experience compared to psychedelics. But it was kind of awesome. It was too much though at the same time, combined with this absolutely crazy set. I was just sweating my ass off, even though like the temperature really wasn't all that bad. But this stage, like everybody was so cramped. At one point when we first got there, we were like kind of still in the back, and then we moved in and got like really close to the stage, and it was so fucking crazy. It was so intense with the Molly. And there were so many fucking people there. So after the set ended, we were all decided to leave, and like I wanted some water. After the set ended, like I would say probably 3 or 4 songs before Subtronics stopped, I was like kind of panicking because the Molly was just hitting like crazy, and the set was so wild that I was looking around the audience and like trying to figure a path out of the stage, because I thought I was going to like need a second or a couple of minutes away from like the heavy crowd, the craziness of it, And I remember looking around and not seeing any way out because there were just thousands of people surrounding me. And it just like shattered me for a second, because I was like, if something happens right now, if I do pass out or if I just feel like I need to get the fuck out of this crowd, it's not fucking happening. There's way too many people in here. And that just like scared me even more while I was rolling really fucking hard on Molly. So after the set ended, everybody was like, let's get the fuck out of here for a second, get some water and regroup. So I'm following with the group, and this dude like slams into the back of me, and I like slam into one of the guys in our group, and I was like, dude, I'm so sorry. And he was all cool about it. He was like, it's fine, I totally get it. And I told him like, somebody just slammed into me, it was a total accident. And he was like, it's fine, dude. And somehow, I think it like happened again, or I don't know what the fuck happened, but I ended up getting completely separated from the group. And I was like, whatever, I need to go back to camp and get a hoodie, which is ironic because I was just sweating my ass off. But probably at a lot of other festivals too, but at this one, when you're walking around at night away from a stage, it's very cold at times, especially this year. You need a fucking hoodie or something to cover up your arms and your legs. But when you're at a stage, it gets boiling fucking hot because of everybody surrounding you, the music. Like, I remember at one point I was freezing my ass off, and then we went to the amp, and immediately I was warm. As soon as the bass music would like hit me, it straight up warmed me up. But I was like, fuck it, I gotta go back to camp anyways and get a hoodie because it's freezing walking around. So I charged back to camp, I grabbed a hoodie, and I went back to downtown, and I was just rolling so hard that I was like, I don't think I can handle a fucking stage right now. So I was like, fuck it, it's the last night. I've already experienced most of the sets that I wanted to see. I'm gonna go walk around. So I literally just walked around Sunshine for a good maybe 40 minutes to an hour, and just looked at all the different campsites. And it was so fun because it was so quiet. Everybody was at the stages, and the stages were a ways away, that it was just like dead quiet. But there were so many camps and totems and lights everywhere. It was just a really cool moment to just like walk around. But then I got a message from my friend, and he was like, dude, Subtronics back-to-back tape B, you gotta get here. And I texted him, I was like, dude, I'm so fucked up, I'm on my way. I could barely, like, I was walking fine, but I knew that being at one of these stages, like, it was just gonna fuck me up. But I was like, fuck it, I have to see this set, because it was Subtronics who I'd wanted to see, and tape B, who I like kind of missed out on because I was getting slammed against a bunch of rocks. So I like ran to the fucking amp, met up with the group last minute. Probably spent like 20 to 30 minutes hanging with them and vibing with them. They all dipped out. I stayed for the rest of the set. And then, I went back to camp and just like laid down and relaxed. Oh, dude. So the other thing that was fucking wild with Molly. So I got back to my tent. I laid down. I immediately was like, I need to go to bed. Like, there were a bunch of people still up, like doing whippets and still partying, and I was like, I gotta go to bed. And so I went and laid down, and it like took me a while to fall asleep because I was just like hallucinating so crazy. At one point, there was a bunch of dust on the outside of my tent, right? And I was just seeing these crazy monster figure things. It was like rock monster. I don't even know. I wish I had like a pen while I was there. I remember thinking I wish I had a sketch pad, but even if I did, I probably wouldn't have been able to draw it. It was just like this entire wall of my tent that I was laying down looking at was this massive rock monster thing that was like kind of looking up at me. And I saw like a couple of these figures, and then I ended up closing my eyes and like kind of falling asleep a little bit more. But I was having these weird fucking daydreams where I would hallucinate that I was back at one of the stages. Like at one point I fell asleep. I wasn't even falling asleep. It wasn't me falling asleep because I was still awake, but it was like daydreaming, and I was just hallucinating like crazy on Molly. I was just imagining myself being back at these stages. At one point I imagined myself being back at the amp, and I was like partying at the amp, but I was at like an area that I'd never been in at all during this year, but the stage looked exactly how it did this year. It was super fucking trippy. And then it happened for like a couple other stages, but it wasn't real. Like it was totally hallucinating all of it. But in the moment it was like so real. It was just a really fucking wild moment. And then I ended up falling asleep, and that was pretty much the end of the fucking festival. Yeah, my flight got fucking delayed, so I had to stay in Canada an extra day. There were a couple other things that I wanted to talk about, but oh yeah. So at this festival, alcohol and whippets aren't allowed, and if you get caught with them, people will try and throw that shit away. So keep that in mind. Hide your alcohol if you're going to bring alcohol, and hide your whippets if you're going to bring whippets. Because my friend Ted, he was drinking a beer at, I think, the living room, and some security person walked up to him and told him to throw it out. So be careful with that if you do decide to drink. I mean, so many people fucking do. Let's be real. But yeah, just be fucking careful with drugs. This festival, know what you're getting yourself into. Experience is everything, man, when it comes to drugs and this festival and music and EDM, all this fucking shit. It's pretty crazy on your body. So also the heat, the dehydration, mixed with drugs and the music, it's a lot on your fucking body. So be prepared for it if you do go to this festival, and just know that it is a fucking blast. I want to go to other festivals, but I'm so cautious about it now because last year, and even more so this year, people would talk about other festivals that I want to go to, like Electric Forest and some other ones, and they say that Shambhala is better. Like almost everybody that's gone to Shambhala talks about how it's one of the best festivals ever. Even DJs go to this festival and they say that it's the best festival when it comes to the sound system and the atmosphere that people bring. It's amazing. It really is. I talked a lot about like kind of the dark moments, with seeing people having seizures or having medics come up to them, whatever. It brings you down from the moment, and it makes it very real and reminds you that, you could easily be one of those people. At least that's how I felt, and that's what really like spooked me at a lot of moments. So all I'm getting at is just be fucking safe, be smart, be with a good group as well. Be with an experienced group. There's so many different groups out there. I got so lucky that I'm with a group, or at least I go with a group to Shambhala that is very experienced and does a lot of drugs, but not enough to where it's like truly dangerous. There were some groups that we met throughout the festival that are just absolutely fucking wild, like nonstop drugs the entire fucking time, and that's how we are too, but it's cranked up a notch with a lot of other groups. There are some groups that just are insane about it. I can't even go into detail. Like, okay, I will a little bit. So a person in our group had this like drug dealer friend group that he knew at the festival. And at one point, they brought ketamine there. They brought so much ketamine, and it was in such a huge rock that they had to use a fucking blender to grind it up. Ketamine usually comes in like chunks, rocks, crystals, and you have to break it up a lot. And they had an entire rock that was so big that they had to use a fucking blender to break it up. And that group, like every time he went there and got drugs and came back, he had the craziest stories to tell us, because they were just like huffing balloons and doing lines and just going absolutely wild the entire fucking week. And our group is crazy, but I think we're not that crazy, you know? Like, we're crazy to where you can have a really wild experience, but not to where you're fucking dying. And I think that's important, and what a lot of people should try to aim for with some of these bigger festivals is to at least have one or two people with you. It's just going to be a lot safer and more comfortable, and probably just a lot more fun. Not to say that you can't, like, go totally solo to a festival. Just be smart if you do. Be very cautious of yourself, because people are always giving each other water and just making sure each other are okay. So that pretty much brings us to the end of Shambhala 2024. I'm going to throw in some videos here at the end if anybody wants to check them out. It shouldn't be that long, maybe a couple minutes. But yeah, thank you so much for listening. This festival is fucking awesome. I don't think I said that enough. You meet the absolute coolest people. You see the coolest fucking shit. You see the best outfits. Just people go crazy for their costumes and their attire. Like, there was this one guy dressed as a fucking dragon or something. It was just trippy as fuck. If you want to go to a fun festival that has really, really cool people that are into EDM, and usually like heavier EDM, this festival is one you should check out. It's always a fucking blast, and yeah, I can't wait to go again. So again, thanks for listening, and have a good day, guys.
Thank you so much for letting me share my art with you. Thank you.
You're already dead.
two at a time. Fuck two at a time. Had to do what I had to do. You want to get going. Get going. It's a dollar on my mind. It's a dollar on my plate. Well, no,